Thanks for downloading this special seasonal mini-series of the Mikeysline Speaking of Suicide podcast. I'm Pennie Stuart, and with me is Shona Macpherson. And across the 12 days of Christmas, Shona is giving us some mental health tips to help us when times get tough. Shona, what's today's tip?
So in today's tip, we're looking at noticing, naming and allowing emotion. And last time I was talking about emotions, that we often sort of see them as the bad guys. But rather, if we can try and see them as neutral, in Rumi's words, unexpected visitors, and let's see if we can explore them rather than with judgment, which we often do if we don't like them, but see if we can explore them with curiosity and openness. And Pennie, would you be up for exploring an emotion with me, or exploring what's around in your body at the moment with me?
Okay.
Yeah, tentatively, yeah. So the first step in exploring an emotion, I feel, is actually starting with our bodies, because as we were sort of looking at before, that's where they have their reaction, isn't it? That's where they are, where they live. And a disclaimer: if you are listening to this and you've got a history of trauma, or you don't feel safe in your own body or in your own experience of your body, or disassociate when you've done these things in the past, please don't do this. Don't feel any need to, and or seek a professional support to help you accept your emotions. So that's the short disclaimer to this one.
Okay.
So yeah, Pennie, just invite you, if you can, feel as relaxed as possible, considering you're holding a microphone and being recorded, and maybe just take a couple of breaths and sort of be as present as you can in your body. Counsellors say this sort of thing, don't they? Present as you can in your body. What does that mean? But just kind of being here in the moment as much as you can.
Yeah.
Excuse me. And maybe just take a couple of breaths and just notice them without trying to control them. And see if as you're taking these breaths, see if you can almost breathe in a attitude of curiosity, that this is something maybe that you haven't done before in this particular way. And see if you can almost think about breathing away self-consciousness or judgment as well. So we're here hopefully in a moment of curiosity and non-judgment. And if you can, just to invite you now to sort of notice what you feel in your body. Maybe do a little scan of the main centres. So just being curious, what's kind of happening in my head area just now, around sort of behind my eyes. What's sort of happening in my chest or my heart area? What's that like? Or our stomachs, we often call it our second brain. We have lots of neuro endings there, and what we're feeling there. Or your limbs. And just invite you, if you feel able to, just to describe if there's anything that you're noticing or feeling, any sensations.
The first word that came to my mind there was a softness, a gentleness, calmness.
Yeah. Where is that? Where if you could you locate that in your physical body?
My chest.
Yeah.
In back, literally deep in my core, a kind of a softness, a warmth, a steadiness, a bit like being wrapped up, of being kind of swaddled, but in a good way.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So I feel it kind of, not tightness of discomfort, but like being someone's arms around you in a warm way,
sort of an embrace.
Yeah. An embrace.
And that's sort of, you think in your chest, sort of. Did you say the back of your chest? Did I hear that?
Yes, deep in the middle.
Deep in the middle.
Almost behind the heart, behind everything.
The heart.
Deep, like a core.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, like a core of kind of a cuddle.
Yeah.
A cuddle at the core.
What a beautiful way to feel. And as you're sort of in your mind's eye, looking in there. Are you noticing it as you're putting your attention on it? Is that feeling sort of staying the same, or is it getting smaller, or is it growing? What's happening to this sort of...
Feels like as I focus on it, it almost gets warmer. There's a raising of the kind of heat. It's almost a more aware of it, so it feels like it's maybe slightly bigger because I'm honing in on it. I'm conscious of it.
Yeah.
But but there,
it's there,
like
yeah.
a heat.
Yeah. So I'm going to come back to you in a second, Penny. But those of you listening, if you are now also doing something similar or want to after listening to this, what we're doing right now is just being curious and paying attention, or Penny's being curious and paying attention to her body. We didn't plan for this.
No, we didn't.
So it could have been something unpleasant, something painful could have been there, or tight or constricted. So in this case, it's something that feels warm and comfortable and like a hug. But if you don't have that experience, or Penny, if you do this later and it's something different, that's okay. It's not about positive and negative or good and bad. We're kind of just with non-judgment, just going into ourselves and taking the time to notice what emotion is here right now. Because usually there's something, even if it's not loud, there's something kind of happening within us in our physicality, in our body. So that's the first part, is we would call that physicalizing, just noticing what is happening. And I didn't have to ask Penny lots of questions because she just sort of spontaneously did that. But the questions I would be asking would be, where is it? So I think maybe I did ask that. That's all I had to ask you, actually. But then we might ask, what sort of shape or size is it? What temperature might it be? Is it moving or is it still? Is it changing or shifting in any way? Those sort of questions. So the next part of this acceptance of emotion that I'm now going to ask you, Penny, is, and you might not know, but what name might that have? And sometimes, again, listener and Penny, we don't know, and that's okay, but sometimes we do know. And sometimes we label really quickly with the rocks of emotion, as it were, like the big famous ones of anger or fear or joy or guilt or sadness. But maybe sometimes we can get more specific, and that can really help us as well. I'm setting this up, but it's going to be really complicated now. I'm saying, can you give us a very specific emotion? But we just come up with what's there for us.
Yeah, and what's coming up. The words that pinged into my head there were secure and a contentment.
Secure, contentment.
Maybe the big fat one would be happy.
Yes.
But secure, a kind of solidity, a secureness. Yes. That ties in with that kind of idea of being hugged, doesn't it?
Yes. And the word that's coming up for me, Penny, and I'm always very tentative this, because how can I know? You know better. But with secure and with a hug, the word comes up as love, which again is a big one, isn't it? But that you might be feeling a sense of love, and that might be your own love, others' love, love for the world, or it could be anything. But does that resonate, or does that?
Yeah, it totally resonates. Yeah. I'm big on the love thing.
Big on the love it. So, thank you so much for doing that with me just now, Penny. And those of you that are listening, if you're doing that and you are accessing another emotion and you are able to name it, brilliant. If you're not, but you know what it feels like, you can Google like emotions, I've forgotten the word for it now, like emotions wheel. And at the so if you just put in Google emotions wheel, and at the outside of it will give you the sensations, and then it will move in and give you the different possible words, like an emotions thesaurus, as it were, because there's so many words. And the more kind of granular we can be about what we're feeling, the more it can help us understand that. And if you do have a difficult emotion, you feel some pain when you go in, and it's really hard to tolerate, see if you can just for moments breathe with it, make room for it, try not to judge it, because often if we do go into ourselves and we feel something painful, we can have thoughts like it shouldn't be here, and then we can have secondary emotion like guilt, or I shouldn't be feeling sad because children in Africa haven't got food or whatever, blah, blah, blah. We do all these things to ourselves, and then we feel more layer upon layer of emotion, and that's when we can feel like we're just overwhelmed and stuck with emotion. But rather, if you can, just make room and breathe. And we're going to be, tomorrow's tip is self-compassion. But yeah, just for now, just to try, without saying too much about self-compassion, allow the pain, make room for it, but try and unhook from self-criticism, and just treat yourself kindly. And if it feels too much, just push your feet into the ground, take some breaths, try and connect with your senses, look around. If there's something you can smell, something you can taste, have some sips. Just get back into the here and now. And if you're using these tips and this is feeling too much, Please know these are just generalised tips. They do not replace professional help. Please seek help for any difficulties that you're going through. Thanks for listening.
Thanks
for doing this with me, Penny.
Remember, it's okay not to be okay, particularly at this time of year and in these really challenging times. So if you need someone to talk to, you can text Mikeysline on 07786 20 77 55, or contact them via Messenger, web chat or Twitter, Sunday to Thursday 6 p.m. to 10 p.m, Friday to Saturday 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. Speaking of Suicide is made in partnership with Mikeysline by Adventurous Audio Limited and is supported by Mikeysline and D&D Paving Limited.